You ever stand on your porch at 4 in the morning, coffee turning cold in your hand, and just watch as a wall of frozen slush gets dumped across a property line you measured yourself? Yeah, that happened to me. Plow blades scraping, lights flashing, and by sunrise my shed was crushed under a pile of ice that had no damn business being there. The HOA president called it an accident, said weather doesn't respect boundaries, and maybe I ought to try being a better neighbor. But after 19 years in the Army as a land surveyor, I know what a boundary looks like, and I know what deliberate looks like too. Standing there in the dark cold cutting straight through me, it was crystal clear they'd just crossed the wrong line. Now this wasn't the kind of cold that makes you run inside for another blanket. It's the kind that crawls into your lungs, settles there, and makes you remember winter doesn't negotiate. I'd had the same black coffee routine every morning for 8 years, always looking out at my clean property lines, proud of every inch. But this morning, there was a mountain of slush, sitting 3 meters inside my fence, plain as day. I didn't curse, didn't call anyone. Army training sticks with you: observe first, react second. The tire tracks could have read them from space, deep, wide, straight from the HOA maintenance road crossing my red-topped boundary stakes I'd set last fall. This wasn't even regular snow either, no. This was that nasty gray-brown road slush, full of de-esser chemicals, the kind that turns boots white and kills grass by spring. And the HOA always used blue dicer leaves, a tint you can spot from 100 feet away. So there I was, coffee in one hand, surveying the damage. The shed was leaning back, corner crushed. I'd built that shed myself, got the HOA's permit, did everything by the book. Now it looked like a giant's foot had come down on it. I didn't even need to cross my property line to see the story. The stakes were still there, GPS accurate, verified by the county. And the snow dump well past them, plain as day. I took pictures, wide shots, and close-ups, tire tracks, crushed shed, red flags, all standing like tiny sentinels. Timestamp on every photo. 4:17 a.m. Just like when I'd heard that diesel engine rumble outside. Walked the perimeter, planted a new red flag right where the tracks crossed onto my land, then went inside. My office looks like an evidence locker, everything labeled, everything filed. I pulled out the plat map, compared it to my phone shots. That dump was 3 meters into my yard. Clear violation of the HOA covenant section 8.2 prohibits dumping anything on adjacent properties. Opened my laptop, kept the email short and factual, attached the 6 best photos labeled with GPS and timestamps. Sent it to all 12 HOA board members, left a matching voicemail at their main office, saved everything under a new evidence snow dumping folder. Not angry, just focused. As the sun came up, neighbors started their day. Mrs. Holloway from 2 houses down waved. She's lived here longer than the HOA president, Sloan Whitmore. Over coffee, she'd warned me things had changed in the last couple years. Sloan ran the HOA like a business, more about control than community. I always kept my head down, followed the rules, figured if you did that, you'd be left alone. Looking at my land that morning, I started to get what she meant. Power without accountability never stays quiet for long. By 8:30, I'd sent a follow-up to the snow removal company using their number from the decal on my camera footage. Informed them their truck trespassed and damaged my property, said I'd be pursuing compensation. Then I sat at my kitchen table and waited. I wasn't holding my breath for a quick reply. 3 days later, right on schedule, I got a template email from Mara at the HOA office. Snow is a natural phenomenon. Association can't be held responsible, and maybe I ought to try being more cooperative. I read that email twice, then pulled out the Covenant Handbook page 47, section 12.3, which says, snow from common areas must stay on HOA land, not dumped on private lots. Highlighted it, plus section 8.2, no dumping waste, and section 15.1, homeowners can file complaints, and the board must respond in 5 business days. PDF'd it, attached to my reply, and wrote, please direct me to the board member responsible for enforcement. I have documented violations requiring formal review. Went back outside. The red flag I'd planted was still there, shining in the snow. Boundaries aren't just lines on a map, they're principles, they're respect, and somebody had just spit on mine. 3 days passed. Another template email, same dance, thanks for your concern, check your insurance, community cooperation, blah blah. Didn't address a single thing I'd raised. I printed it, filed it, and called the office again. Mara picked up voice so nice it could have been pre-recorded. I asked for the board member handling covenant enforcement, got put on hold. Elevator music. She came back. Your concern will be added to the agenda for the next board meeting January 10th. That's 3 weeks away. No emergency protocol. Another line in my timeline. Request for board contact denied. Redirected to monthly meeting. I spent the next 2 days reading that whole covenant cover to cover, every loophole, every deadline, every requirement. Then I drove to the county courthouse, spent $12 getting the HOA's incorporation docs and bylaws. The board had a fiduciary duty to enforce the rules equally. They couldn't ignore violations or authorize contractors to trespass. I drafted a formal complaint letter, sent it certified mail to the HOA office, to Sloan Whitmore's home, and to myself. That's what creates a paper trail they can't ignore. $21.60 well spent. That night, Mrs. Holloway invited me for coffee at the shop near the entrance. She told me Sloan had fined a family $500 for gray shutters a shade off the approved color and threatened a lien when they pushed back. She fined another family for an invisible backyard vegetable garden. Folks tried to fight, got out-lawyered, and gave up. Best to stay invisible, she said. Sloan's got resources, time, and a lawyer on retainer. But you know what? That's not how I was raised, and definitely not how the Army trained me. If you let people cross the line once, they'll do it again. That's not just about property, it's about principle. By now I'd spent over $500 cameras, letters, legal consult, and hadn't even fixed my shed. But I wasn't walking away. I installed security cameras, real ones, 4K night vision, GPS stamped cloud backup. Not just for gotcha moments, but so that next time there'd be no question. Set up the system Christmas Eve, 3 cameras labeled covering every angle. Called the lawyer Mrs. Holloway mentioned. Left a message. She called back 3 days later, cool and efficient. Said I'd built a hell of a file, could file a claim with the HOA's insurance file, a complaint with the county zoning board, or go nuclear with civil litigation. She recommended starting with the county. 3 weeks later, January 9th, a nor'easter rolled in. By 4:30 a.m., the world was buried in snow. I checked the cameras before looking outside. There it was, plow truck from the HOA road, headlights cutting the dark. Driver stops, looks straight at my property, drops the blade, and pushes snow right across my boundary. Not once, 3 times. That shed I rebuilt after the last hit destroyed again. This time I had it all, video timestamps, license plate clear as day. Called the police, filed a report, showed them everything. The officer was polite, said it was a civil property dispute, but filed it as destruction of property. Gave me a case number, told me to contact my lawyer. I showed up at the HOA office by 8. Told the secretary it was an emergency, waited 5 minutes. Sloan walked out with 2 board members, face tight as a drum. I played the video, no introduction, no pleasantries. They squirmed, tried to say the driver must have misjudged the angle. I handed them the police report, told them I'd documented everything, had legal counsel, and wanted a solution. Sloan threatened legal action if I insisted on making threats. I told her, see you at the meeting tomorrow. That night I called my lawyer, told her to file the county complaint. The next day I prepped, printed every doc, every photo, made folders for each board member. At the meeting room full of neighbors, I laid out the timeline, projected the video, showed proof of everything, requested 3 things: snow removal at their expense, repair of my shed, and policy change to train contractors. Sloan tried to downplay it. Unavoidable margin of error, insurance will handle it. I said, fine, give me the policy number. Told them if the snow wasn't removed in 72 hours, I'd move it myself on my land fully within county regs. That night I marked the boundary planned, and at 11 p.m. fired up my plow. Spent the night building a 2-meter-high wall of ice exactly on my line, blocking their maintenance road. Videoed the whole process. By sunrise, the neighborhood had an ice wall they couldn't ignore. By afternoon, my phone blew up, neighbors curious, some angry, but most just asking why. The story hit social media. Someone posted HOA versus homeowner, the Cold War begins. It went viral, thousands of shares, local news came knocking. I laid out my story on the evening news, property rights failed, HOA the works. Pressure mounted. Sloan called threatening legal action over public nuisance. My lawyer laughed, maintenance roads, private walls, legal media coverage helping our case. Next day, HOA had an emergency meeting. Mrs. Holloway said the room was packed, folks demanding answers, board members stepping down calls for audits. The ice wall had broken more than just snow, it broke years of frustration wide open. A committee was formed, Mrs. Holloway in charge. They found Sloan had signed a sweetheart contract with the snow removal company, no bidding, overpayments, shady business ties. Driver admitted he'd been told to just clear space, no concern for boundaries. 12 other families came forward with similar complaints. The committee's report was a bombshell: financial mismanagement, covenant violations, systemic neglect. Recommendations: fire the contractor, hold new elections, implement transparency and accountability, compensate for damages, including my shed. Sloan resigned, new contractor hired, $15,000 paid out among affected families. I got a check and a formal apology. County opened an investigation into the missing money. Mrs. Holloway was elected president, put finances online for everyone to see, built a real complaint portal. She invited me to join the advisory board. I politely declined, just wanted to live quietly, knowing the rules would actually be enforced. Spring came. The ice wall melted. I replaced my survey stakes with a line of deep red tulips blooming right along the boundary. Neighbors stopped by to thank me, some telling me my fight gave them the courage to stand up for themselves. It's not about courage, I'd say, just documentation and persistence. But deep down I knew it was about drawing a line and holding it. About proving that boundaries matter, that one person can force change even when the odds are stacked against them. And as I watched those tulips bloom, the cameras still rolling, the new shed standing firm, I realized this whole battle wasn't about revenge or even victory. It was about respect, living on my land under my terms with the rules applied to everyone. The fight was over. The boundary held. And sometimes that's all a person needs. So tell me, if someone crossed your line, would you have walked away or would you have stood your ground? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's hear your story. And if you believe in standing up for what's right, hit that subscribe button, because justice starts with you.